Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon from Thailand. Welcome to our Pathfinding Workshop Session 2. In our first session, we talk about why clarity starts with understanding yourself. Today, we go one layer deeper, not into tests or labels, but into patterns. This session is not about defining who you are, it's about understanding naturally how you think, act, and respond. Most people underestimate themselves because they don't have the language to describe their strengths. Others overestimate themselves because they never seen their blind spots. Today is about balance, seeing yourself clearly without judgment. With me today is Mr. Bhargav Mohandas, the CEO of DN69 Family, and Professor Dieter Traut will be joining us online. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Bhargav to start our workshop for today.
Thank you so much, Miss Jennifer. And I believe all our friends are doing well today. So yeah, we covered quite a bit on the basics of what's shaping our way forward, what was Career Plus way of looking into ourselves and take things forward. So we are taking that journey forward today. We are just going a bit deeper than where we were last time. So the topic today, personality mapping, right? So why does it matter? Why it is important that, okay, last time we spoke about to know ourselves. Now we're getting into the deeper traits of our personality. So why it is important? It's very important because this mapping process helps us in several aspects. It helps us to understand ourselves, that how we operate naturally, how we can reduce our self-doubt, then how we can make better fit career decisions. Because last time we made some discussion about informed decisions, right? So now we are getting into decisions that's relevant to our career. And of course, very importantly, to define the boundaries. So let me go one by one, okay? So it's very essential that if we can operate naturally, then definitely the necessity for adjustments go simply low. So because a lot of time, if we are not at our natural best, we need to make a lot of adjustments. And in the process, the quality of the outcome may not be the way we desire them. So that's why it is important that we map our personality to realize what comes naturally to us. Second, of course, this helps us reduce our self-doubt, because self-doubt, as the literal meaning says so, we tend to lose our positive energy in the process of doubting self. So that's why it's also equally important that personality mapping will enable us to reduce the self-doubt that we may be having within ourselves. So with clarity on the first two things, automatically it will help us to make better fit career decisions. We already have spoken about well-informed decisions for life as a whole, but now we are zeroing down to the decisions that's pertaining to our career. And automatically, once these three aspects covered, then automatically we are focusing towards defining the boundaries, because it's always very, very important to understand the boundaries so that we exactly know what to and what not to, as we discussed in our first session. So what are the key boundaries in terms of personality mapping? First, like, it can go on its, I won't say ascending order, but in this order. Sometime the first boundary is lack of confidence. So when we lack confidence, so automatically we cannot be the best version of ourselves. So, how we eliminate that lack of confidence and then become confident so that we can take more fit decisions, more appropriate actions towards looking after our interest in growing our career. But having said that, we have to be very, very careful to assure that the confidence doesn't become overconfidence, because there is a very small difference between overconfidence and confidence. I can do it. That perhaps is confidence. But the moment we start, getting into approaching something like, oh, only I can do it, nobody else is good enough, or I can do it better than anyone else, that just might be overconfidence. But a lot of time what happens, we get lucky with overconfidence. We act with overconfidence, and because we were lucky, the things might get work, it just might work. It just brings success, and that can create arrogance. So that's why it's very important that we map our personality in a manner that we stay within the boundary of confidence, and maybe a little bit more than confidence, but not reaching to the extent of overconfidence. Because, the moment we reach arrogance, we might have some short-term benefits, but in longer run, it just, doesn't give what one would aspire in longer run. So that's why we would like to close this slide with the note that clarity is not confidence, but when we have clarity, it will create confidence within ourselves. Now again, if as we already have discussed last time, that every aspect that we do, we always try to touch the base upon what it is and what it is not. So that's why the session that we have today, it's not a labeling exercise that at the end of the session today, we should have absolute clarity that whether we are confident, overconfident, arrogant, or not even confident. We don't have to get into any conclusion by the end of it. Okay, so that's why, as would like to highlight that this session is not about a personality test. We are not checking our personalities today. It's not even a ranking system to, as I mentioned moments ago, to confirm that whether we are, confident or less confident or arrogant. No need. And it's not even a judgment of our ability. This session is about recognizing our pattern, that in which pattern we are functioning, and observe, next self-observation, meaning observe our inner self in a far more pertinent and minute way, so that, so at the end of this session, we believe that we can start observing ourselves far more minutely. And of course, if we can observe ourselves very minutely, it builds a self-awareness, an enhanced self-awareness, which we touched the base upon even last time, that how important self-awareness and self-consciousness is if in the journey towards becoming successful individual in real sense. So that's why, to sum it up, we can conclude, as we have the note, that patterns explain the behavior identification, and the guideline towards the amendment that we might have to do to enhance our overall potential. Now, the interesting question that where these patterns come from. So by and large, we have 4 aspects, and it doesn't have to be only one. So first of all, the patterns are shaped by the temperament, like what sort of temperament we do have. So that again, I think a little bit goes back to how do we see things what level of confidence and things like that. Second thing, the patterns also are generated through our experiences, because more and more we experience, our thought process tend to change because we have new information as we go along. So that also tends to impact our thought pattern. Of course, the environment around us. So automatically, it's very clear that like a good if we're in a good environment, automatically it creates more positivity, more creativity, and of course, if we are in an environment full of hatred, negative energy, so automatically it won't give very positive results. And it again goes back to the very essence, the very soul of Career Plus Plus, because as we had been repeatedly saying since the very first day, one of the main goal we want to achieve through Career Plus Plus is to reduce the negative energy amongst ourselves to the extent possible, so that the more we can focus towards positivity, we can make Earth a much better place. So that's again on the environment. And last but not the least, expectations that's placed on the individual. A lot of time, and then I think many of us are from. I believe most of us are from Asia, I believe, and I think it's a very Asian thing. A lot of time it is to have expectations from the day you were born, from the family. It happens, right? A lot of time we are born with expectations from someone else, and a lot of time people are living someone else's life because certain expectations were told to them. So basically, from these four aspects, the patterns, our behavioral patterns, get created. Sometimes it can be any one of them, and it can be all four of them. So that's why, like to sum it up, it's very hard to say that we can choose this particular pattern, because these patterns are dependent on so many different factors, right? But for us, it's very important to understand the pattern, realize what modifications or amendments we have to do for our own better self, and then work forward towards the progressive outcomes. So from the patterns, of course, we go towards the energy orientation. So like we had been saying up to a number of times already, that this is all about creating positive energy. And like we just need to see that which direction our energy is going. Okay, is it drawn from people and relationships? Is it from ideas and concepts? Is it from systems and structure, action and execution, or results only? Because you see, it again has to be a balance amongst all of it. Because sometimes if we focus only on one aspect, if we put our entire energies, for example, suppose we know that a particular idea and concept on our hand is perfect, it will be, it will be going to give us the best result. But owing to the people and relationships that we have in our life, they don't perceive it to be the same. It may have any reason. It may have social or whatever reason. And then, okay, we decide to give more energy towards our relationship and give up the good idea, which we personally believe that has merits. Things like that. Okay, so that's why, like it's very essential to identify which way we orient our energy to and how we balance it. Okay, so that's why we have to be very clear in terms of aligning ourselves and get it sorted to a proper equilibrium. So we have to give equal importance to each of them, but at the same time not over reliant on each of it. And of course, once we get our energy levels oriented, then comes the decision making. But here, again, same, we have to observe the pattern amongst ourselves. That how do we make our decisions currently? Do we just make decisions based on only intuitions, or whether we go for a very detailed analysis, or do we need to discuss with others, even though we may know that it is absolutely the correct thing to do, but still we want to discuss with someone else simply because if something goes wrong, we can just put that, okay, we already had someone to share the blame for. and then sometime, okay, I mean, we need to see some outcome of the similar things and then take a cue of it. So this is a thing that we need to ask ourselves, and accordingly, you know, we get the gist of it. For example, if someone is doing things only with intuition, without much, without much emphasis on the other aspects, well, then you have to be lucky all the time to survive, right? At the same time, if someone focuses only on the detail analysis, even though 90% of the thing by intuition, it's quite clear that it's been, by the other aspects. So we have to maintain the balance. So these are the things that we intend to, work together in terms of developing that equilibrium amongst ourselves, so that our decision making becomes subtle and effective. So that's why, as I mentioned, that none of this decision making style is considered to be best or worst, but we need to have different awareness level amongst all of them, and maintain a good equilibrium so that our decisions go in the right direction. Now, this is the next thing in terms of the self-realization that we have to do again for our personality mapping. So which of these 5 traits, or rather drivers, motivate us the most when we take a decision or when we take a step, Is it security? Is it freedom? Is it impact? Or is it the ability to get mastery over that particular trait? Or is it recognition? Or it can be all of them, right? So ideally, the way we see it, again, the balance is important, but the thing is that over-reliant on any one of them might not yield the best result. Because, for example, if we get too conservative and focus only on the security, then we might have to end up the quality of impact. Vice versa, that if we focus on the impact, very quick impact, then we might compromise with the security. Or sometimes if we focus more on the security and, say, recognition, then we might end up compromising with the freedom. So that's why, like we need to be quite clear in terms of how we maintain this equilibrium and get on our acts together in terms of deriving the best outcome. But as I said, like today's all the aspects are the benchmarks for ourselves to map our own personality. So we'll go ahead looking into each of them, and then how we map. So that is the discussion we'll have after the end of this these slides. Now the next thing that we also need to give equal emphasis in terms of mapping our personality is that strengths and drains. I believe we briefly touched base upon this in the first session, that in terms of a question, that do we identify what strengthens us and what drains us? So just to elaborate on that, like what is strength? Strength, of course, we all know that if we can do something very well, we consider it to be strength, but it also has to be what it energizes our over the time. So this, I think we already touched base upon this in the first session. And the drain is basically what exhausts us, even though we might perform well. I think we elaborated this in the first session where I gave that mocha frappuccino example. But the thing is that whenever we have to get the best result out of our activities, so definitely we really need to be assured of this balance between strength and drain, that the aspects that strengthens us or drains us. So like it's very essentially at the end of the day that total energy quotient remains positive. So that's why The strength side has to go higher up, and the drain side has to be maintained. We cannot say that we can avoid it completely, but we have to maintain so that our sustainability, because eventually it will align with the positive energy, not simply the ability of doing good. So that's another aspect of our personality mapping. Now, okay, now we are like elaborating a little bit more, like what we can, call overused strengths, right? So every strength, like we talked about confidence levels, right? That confidence level beyond a certain point can become overconfidence, and beyond that point can even become arrogance. Similarly, strengths also has its own shadow. Just simple example, right? Like we just mentioned, discussed moments back about this different traits of security or safety and so on and so forth. So here also, like when we talk about attention to detail as a strength, it is a strength. But then if we start giving too much of attention, that means we might end up thinking too much that we can't even make the decision that we need to take, right? So when we talk about attention to detail being a very positive strength, but if we do it too much, it might, lead to overthinking, resulting in no action or lack of action or slow action, delayed action, which can eventually have impact, right? Similarly, confidence, like I mentioned, right? When the confidence becomes overconfidence and from it becomes arrogance, it can lead to dominance, unnecessary dominance, which can eventually create, again, friction. Similarly, just the bang opposite to confidence, if we develop too much of empathy. So if we develop too much of empathy to the extent that we started giving empathy more importance, then the result, we might end up just pleasing the people, but not gaining the result that we want. In fact, a lot of time, even in the political world, we see quite a bit of this kind of thing, right? Like a lot of time, we just see like provision of so much of empathical provisions to the people that okay, we will reduce the pricing of this and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, that empathy, does it really serve the purpose? Maybe not, right? Like considering my own solar background from renewable energy, there was a time in Europe when too much of subsidies were given to renewable energy to the extent that the load of that subsidy made the governments to bear the consequences, right? So that's why I think too much of empathy also can be leading towards people pleasing, but may not yield the real results. So it's just some examples, of course. Our after session discussions, and of course during our personalized discussions, we will expand into all the probabilities here. And of course we have an SKU related to this. So when that would be developed, we'll get in the details. So that's why, like what we need to identify based on this, whatever we have discussed until now, what we need to identify that based on the patterns, the patterns, because after going through that entire aspect that we discussed until now, we would be able to develop our own patterns. I mean, at least identify our own patterns and how those patterns will link to our pathways. So that's the key part. So for example, like suppose, we have come across, so we just put about, I think, 4 or 5 different patterns just to elaborate. Suppose we have done our personality mapping and then finally realize that, okay, we are structured thinkers, right? So if that is what, we evaluated ourselves to be our personality mapping, then what role we should play to have a successful career. So perhaps we have to play roles that runs with systems, maybe bureaucracy, maybe corporate, Then at the end of our mapping of our characteristics, if it comes out that okay, we are good explorers, so automatically our career should be aligned towards research or startup work or some creative work. Similarly, like if we found that okay, our final outcome comes out to be our characteristics is that we are very much relationship driven, then the career should be focused towards something like people-centric roles. So we just put like someone, if we found that, okay, our whole characteristic trait is towards solving problems, so automatically our career should be moved towards running operations or being a consultant, so and so forth. Similarly, like if someone is more towards vision building, right? So basically, okay, we might be a bit lenient in terms of going through the processes and all, but we're very much focused towards creating new visions and execute them. So automatically, where we should go for a suitable career are things like entrepreneurship, strategy, policy design, and so on and so forth. So that's how basically at the end of the day, when we do our like once we develop that mapping of our own traits, so automatically we can go along and choose that which path defines us the best and how we can choose our own career ways forward. So to end for the slides, so like last time, ask yourself these 3 questions and answer to yourself. And of course, during our follow-up sessions, we will discuss on it. So for today, what is requested, to be the reflection for the day are 2 strengths that we feel that comes naturally to us. 1 situation that consistently, drain us, that it really like, okay, we really don't want to get into this. We all know deep inside our in our heart. And well, maybe a pattern that we would like to observe in our own life, because we already have spoken about certain patterns. So I think these 3 things I suggest as the homework to all of us to think, and once we have the answer, then of course in our success, because we are going to release out the SKU relevant to today's session, where we will fill it up together. So today's stock keeping units are, okay, certified personal assessment, which you already have done, but it will be again modified, but role fit and strength mapping tool, which would be sent to all of us early next week. So basically, once we fill that thing in and what we have discussed today, so that will help us to map our strengths and patterns. So once all of us fill that thing in based on the inputs that we already have in this slide, of course, this is going to be kept available, so we can do it repeatedly as many times as we want and fill it in. Then we can do a straightforward assessment for all of us, that each of us, which direction we are fit to map ourselves in, so that we can plan and we can get into the right career path going forward. So that's pretty much it in terms of the discussion slides today. So I think we can have our discussions now, group discussions going forward.
First question from my side. Our first failure can be a energy draining. Like later on, we can feel like all our energy is drained because we use so much of energy doing something, and then we failed in something that we put energy, and then it's causing our lack of. You got my question right? The question which was showing there.
Energy. You mean say that energy drained from failure, right?
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of energy would be drained out when a failure comes, and if it's the first experience. But then again, at the same time, it will give us a lot of lessons to be learned as well, right? Again, it's going back to what to and what not to. So whenever we fail, we get a big list of what not to. So we just need to take that as a lesson and then, correct them in the next attempt. But of course, the energies get drained, but then again, from what comes as a not to, so we gain some extra energy from that. Yeah.
I particularly do not have any questions, but if others don't have any questions, we can go back to the reflection and discuss.
Okay, sure. All right.
So my strengths, I feel like, is I am easy to talk to. I am very communicative. So if I'm in a crowd or somewhere, I stand out. That's one of the natural strength I think I have. And I'm very driven. If I want to do something, I go ahead and do it. I don't think about the consequences. I think later. If I want to do something, I just do it.
Yeah. So I think that's why it's straightforward, right? That you are a born entrepreneur. I mean, we already have had this discussion several times, so there is no even second thought about it. Yeah.
Okay, one situation that consistently drains me. The situation that consistently drains me is people who, being around people who has no ambition or are not driven. It's like wasting their time, doing things, they have no goals, vision, mission or anything. People, hanging around with people like them, I think drains me because that's why I am kind of isolated myself. Like I am good with the crowd, but in my personal life, I like to stay away from the crowd. I just have my own life and I like to do my own things.
Can you just elaborate? Because why you need to even care about those people? I mean, it's like if people are living their own life, and
Just being around them. Like, for example, there are students who likes to smoke, drink, party. So
Yeah.
compared to that, I'm just giving a scenario of the university life.
But yeah, okay. I mean, that's understandable. So that you feel that gives you a negative vibe. So you better not want to be around those people, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, that's okay. That's fully understandable because that I think completely sort of like complement your two strengths, right? It's but just for the sake of this discussion, because okay, just from my personal experience, as we go forward, we meet a lot of different kind of people, right? So definitely not each of them will give you energy. In fact, even worse, it may very well happen that when you start growing, there will be certain kind of people who actually on purpose will come and will try to drain your energy out. You can't avoid it, right?
The Epstein Island.
So the thing is that so we live so that's why, and I think it happens as you grow. So automatically try and develop a mechanism within yourself that you can be completely immune to whatever happening around you, right? I believe you work out so rigorously, right? So when you work out, at that point in time, I believe you have nothing else, right? Even if someone is fooling around, you're focusing on your gym. So I think even in life, this is my suggestion that you can try it out. Let's just think about it, like, okay, they're fooling around, but that's their problem. That has nothing to do. I mean, let's not judge them. I mean, they're happy that way, so let them be happy, right? So I think that way, why I'm saying so, you see, we should also try and figure out that whatever drains us, let's get rid of that, right? Because like right now you have said 2 positive, 1 negative, so you're 2 minus 1, 1. But if this thing you can make 0, then you're 2. So that's why, like, this is just a word of advice, but of course it takes time because at your age I was even far more impatient, even this much of this thing that is
Distraction.
not distraction, but a lot of time, like sometime, we judge people, right? That, oh, come on, I mean, we are working like this, we are working our, with all our efforts, all sincerity, but these people are just fooling around. Okay, let them, okay, as long as that doesn't become detrimental to what you are working, yes. If their clumsiness puts a negative effect on your hard work, yes, you have to be very fiercely protective about it. No doubt about it. But then, as long as their clumsiness is not affecting you, so you can figure out a way to stay immune to it. just for our own better, psychological condition, so that we avoid some negativity. And yeah, what pattern you'd like to observe?
I think making the right decisions, like try to be on the right path and not get distracted.
Yeah. That's definitely is the case. And obviously, I think once we have the background today, and this SKU related to this one, the mapping tool would be out to all of us. So once we fill it in, like we did for our career assessment, so then we would have the patterns coming out our way. All right. Yes, any other questions?
May I ask what drains you?
Quite similar to what drains you now. Those things used to drain me before, until not so long. But now I try to keep myself completely immune because I think I have seen enough in life. Worst of the worst experiences I already had. So once you go through that, you tend to become tolerant and tend to become, Right now, the way I try to keep myself is like never get happy and never get sad. So just maintain the balance. But of course, I don't want anyone to go through what I have gone through in my life. So some emotion is always good. But of course, before, yeah, I mean, anytime, like the thing that used to drain me the most, when things that I put best of my effort but could not go forward because of be it bureaucracy, be it some politics or whatever, so those things used to drain me quite a bit. But of course, it drained me to the extent that I, went through the experiences that nobody would like to have in one lifetime. And after that, I tend to get, quite balanced out, So just to put it in place, I even had experiences like, just to prove a point, people just got me picked up and put me in a prison cell for a night. So when you get that kind of experience in life, after that, you tend to get, immune to any bad feeling, right? The good thing is that my mind didn't get into some dark space after that. In fact, I, came out much brighter. Yeah.
Do we have any more questions
Anything from the people?
from Zoom?
Can I ask a question?
Oh yes.
Sure.
Yeah. When it comes to personality mapping, I guess like especially in terms of working with others, is there ever a situation like sometimes when we'll have to like adjust and sort of like compromise on who we really are?
See, I won't recommend you to ever compromise on who you are. We are who we are, right? But when we say we are who we are, at the same time, we also then have to admit that we might have certain things that is detrimental to ourselves, right? So we just have to try and correct them to the extent we think it's possible. But we should not change ourselves. We are who we are, and that's the best way we can describe ourselves. But we just need to identify what is good within ourselves. That is what we're talking about, personality mapping, right? So we need to understand which are the traits, positive traits we have. So we should identify them and improve them. And we should also identify which are the, I won't say negative, but limited traits we have within ourselves. So we just have to dilute them. We have to figure out a way to get them reduced to the extent possible. That's it. But never ever think that we have to change the way we are, because if we do that, meaning we don't respect ourselves enough. And if we don't respect ourselves, nobody would, so if we really want the world to respect us, we have to respect ourselves first. So never ever compromise on that. I did that mistake for a very long time, by compromising certain things and perhaps even lived a life which was not me for quite amount of time, and at the end of the day, it didn't work out well. Okay, so never compromise on who you are. You are the best. You are the way you are. Just try to be the best version of yourself to the extent possible. That's it. Enhance the positivities, and if you have any limitations, try to cut them down. That's it. Wow, Professor, you're in some supreme location, it seems. Nice blue sky.
Blue skies.
Professor Dieter?
Professor Dieter, welcome.
Yes, hello. I'm outside.
Yeah. We were just talking about the personality mapping now. So our friend asked about if she has to compromise on her self-identity to improve her personality mapping. So that's what I was talking about moments back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Modupi, do you have anything else?
No,
I,
all good for me. Thank you.
I hope I could answer you, right?
Yes.
Okay. So be very happy being yourself. Okay, you are already doing quite good, and just identify yourself a little bit more and enhance your best qualities. That's it.
Maybe let's ask Professor Dieter, because Professor Dieter is serial entrepreneur, at the same time professor, at the same time many hats
Yes,
actually.
yes,
So
yes.
Professor Dieter, what kind of work drains you even when you do it well?
I think administrative work where is no direct impact or what you have done, and you don't see the value.
True. I think quite similar to actually, yeah, what we discussed. A lot of time. I mean, good efforts put down just for some, unnecessary this thing maybe. But yeah, but it's part and
Yeah, but
parcel,
it's not
right, Professor? We
avoidable
cannot
sometimes.
avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Any discussions from our friends online?
Maybe you guys want to also answer the reflection. If you want, you can feel free to, raise your hand and you can just speak from your heart. You can share. Or anyone from Zoom can answer.
Yeah. Actually, the floor is open to all. Like Mr. Nasif reflected on his aspects on the last slide. So, is anyone willing to share your thoughts? I'm sure everyone has the answer. Only thing is that maybe they don't want to make it public yet. So, anything we have from our team?
Maybe I have a question.
Sure.
So you mentioned about here the strengths, right? That overused strength, like for example, attention to detail is actually a strength, but if you do it too much, then it's overthinking. So reverse it. What are the weaknesses that we have that can be turned into strength? Can you give an example of weaknesses that can be turned into strengths?
Weakness turning into strength, right? Well, good question. So, weakness of what sort you mean to say? Like limitation within ourselves?
Yes, that you perceive yourself as a weakness. For example, for yourself, what you think are your weaknesses, and how can you convert that into strength?
Oh, I have a lot of weaknesses. So, my first weakness would be definitely being too intrigued to get over involved. So that over involvement sometimes tend to create serious imbalance with the personal life. So automatically it jeopardizes the complete balance, the life work balance. That is my biggest limitation I have faced. But one thing actually, when we talk about the weaknesses, right? So weaknesses always are good because when we have a weakness, meaning what? We have to grow on that, right? We have to get better. So that means when we know our weaknesses, we have a reason to get better. So that's why I see that itself is a hypothetically positive reason of having and not having. We all have weaknesses, but we need to identify them. So if we can recognize what weakness we have, that's good. Then we have a room to improve, right? But sometime, like if a weakness can be converted to positivity, right? It's very rare. Again, weakness can never be positive, right? But having said that, one thing, okay, this is one thing that sometimes weakness cannot be a personality mapping trait. Sometimes weakness can come from the overall outcome. Suppose we are putting our best efforts, but still the results are not coming out, right? So automatically that would give us the very reason to realize that okay, the results are not coming out in spite of the best efforts, right? So definitely the problem is happening where either we have chosen the wrong trait, wrong, or we are putting over effort, right? So automatically, like if that happens, so then we just need to see that whatever is stopping us from getting the results, we just have to correct that part. But one particular weakness that can create a success story, I can't see any of them in terms of like if we just say direct conversion. But yeah, to cut a long story short, like if we have a weakness, I still take it positively that if we have identified one weakness amongst ourselves, then okay, it's a way for us to improve because that we have to rectify to the extent possible.
I agree. Identifying one's weakness is the first step
Yeah.
because admitting that you have weakness, right? It's also being confident of yourself that, yes, I have this weakness. And if I can do something to improve on it and turn it into strength,
Yeah.
then that would be like improvement in our personality as well.
Yes.
Like, for example, my weakness, personal weakness, is sometimes it's difficult for me to say no. So that's
Yes.
a weakness in itself because
Yes.
what if you have to say
Yes.
no, and then it's just, not natural for you. So how you
Yes,
work on
yes.
that is to convert that into strength
I
eventually.
think a lot of us have that thing, that the inability to say no. A lot of us have that. I also used to have it to an extent earlier, not anymore. But yes, that is a serious weakness many of us have. But actually, once you start saying no, you just realize that it was not that difficult. It's not that difficult. I mean, as long as that no is honest one. So anything else from the
We have from the chat. Let me read it.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Could you explain pattern slide again? I'm not clear on that part. Maybe we go to the pattern slide.
Let's go to the slide, please. Can we go to slide, please? Yeah. Okay. The
Pattern. Yeah, this
patterns. Is it this slide, linking patterns?
Yes.
Linking patterns and pathways, right? Okay. So, okay, the thing is that we talked about the different aspects, right? Based on which we can understand which pattern we are, right? So, of course, like you cannot sort of maybe visualize it yet because we had the basics now, and then after this, we have a separate tool coming out that we would utilize amongst ourselves to check our own patterns. Okay, so once we go through that process, we will have certain conclusion about ourselves. So that conclusion can be anything. For example, the conclusion can be that, okay, we are structured thinkers. Structured thinkers means what? We are people who can think in a very structured way, in a very precise way, with proper analysis after identifying all pros and cons and so on and so forth. So if our pattern turns out to be that, okay, I'm a structured thinker, then which kind of roles would be suitable for me for my career? So I should maybe choose the roles which work in systems. So roles work in systems mean what? Maybe work in bureaucracy or work in a corporate that runs with, corporate means a corporate that runs with a Six Sigma kind of a management tool and so on and so forth. But then if that pattern assessment turns out that, okay, we have a very good analytical mind, right? So if our mind, it turns out to be, okay, we are of that ilk, that, okay, we work with very good analytical mind, then, okay, maybe the career path we should choose in something like data science or finance or in research, audit, things like that. So this is a thing that we would do it ourselves as soon as the SKUs would be out to you about tracking your own, mapping your own skill set, and then each of us will have a conclusion. Like for example, right now most of us have submitted our career path questionnaire, right? And the outcome has come out for all of us that someone is maybe business, like entrepreneur first, job second, and so on and so forth. Similarly, after this, we also would know that which pattern like signifies us the best. And then based on that that identified pattern, we might be able to see that, okay, which direction we should go. In fact, then we can go back and tally with our career path assessment as well. So if both the assessments come out to be in the same line, then we exactly know that, okay, we know what we are doing. Is that clear?
Yes, clear. Thank you.
Okay.
I also just have a question.
Yep.
That like going back to your takeaway on weakness, which is quite interesting because like I feel like for some of us, weakness is something that we view as something that's fearful or like, you know, to save face, you don't reveal your weakness, or even like as in a way like you don't want to cast your burdens on someone. So my question is, when is it time to reveal your weakness versus keep it hidden? And then how do you know that someone is someone that you can trust to reveal your weakness to?
See, this is your life. You have come alone. You will live alone, right? So you have to be the one who needs to deal with this. You need to get rid of this weakness yourself. You cannot depend on anyone else. Of course, you can take guideline or whatever you call it from people whom you come across. But at the end of the day, the whole thing is in you. You have to accept yourself like this is my weakness, and these are the things I'm going to do to get rid of it. I mean, better not. Of course, like the thing is that in this process, whenever someone would guide you through, that's fine. But at the end of the day, the entire decision making, entire judgment, you have to keep within yourself. And of course, in Careers Plus Plus, the way we are going to train you, so we believe that we can create that ability within yourself that you can make those decisions yourself. And of course, we are there. We are there to discuss and take you through. Like earlier today, as a follow-up of our discussion with Mr. Tyson, we had a very conductive discussion about his next step towards his job profile and so on and so forth. So we are we are standing by to be part of this thing with all of you. So but the thing is that don't depend on anyone else to get rid of your weakness. You don't need to reveal your weakness to the world. You need to just reveal it to yourself and rectify. And you can do it. You can do it yourself. Could I answer you?
Yes.
We can have a discussion on this if you want. Yeah, we can have a one-on-one discussion on this if you want.
Sure.
So if there's no more further question, maybe we can give them a preview, Mr. Burkal, what will happen next week. And next week we start on Monday, correct?
Yes, Monday and Wednesday.
So
Monday and
next
Wednesday.
week we will be having our session on Monday and on Wednesday.
Yes, 4 p.m. same time, 4 p.m.
4
Bangkok
p.m.
time. And we are just, actually next week, we are closing in on these traits aspects then, because from the week thereafter, we are going on the practical things, on things like CV preparation and so on and so forth. So this entire aspects of self-realization and self-preparation. So we have 2 more sessions next week, and we go in depth, a bit more in depth. In the meanwhile, as a follow-up of today's session, we will also release you the sheet for our self pattern mapping, and we take things forward from there. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us in this day's session, and hope you have a happy weekend,
Yes.
everyone. Have a restful weekend, and see you all on Monday, 4 p.m.